What's up, everybody? Peter Exodus O'Coffer here, and welcome to another episode of The Five Things. And today we're going to do Doechii, the five things I like about her Tiny Desk concert. Wow. This blew my mind the first time I watched it. So, YouTube uploads this on December 6, 2024, last year. I watch it on December 20th, 2024. Now, I know what you're saying. How do you remember when you watched it? The show was so damn fucking good that I texted it to a bunch of people. And so yeah, that's how good this was. So obviously the next question is, why did it take you so long to do this show? Well, I wanted to do it justice, and my first thought was to do, whatever the top wow moments I've had when it comes to music of all time. And thought about that, but then I realized, really wouldn't do this concert justice. It deserved its own show. So, hey, life happens. Thought this through. Took a second look at the concert earlier today, and the same feeling I got the first time, I got the second time, and it was just amazement. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the show off with the seven wow moments, and Doechii will be 8. So leading up to this, and this is just me personally. Everybody has their own wow moment. So my first wow moment, and I talk about this when I do this song and also when I talk about the rise of hip hop, but the first time I heard Rapper's Delight, and I was in middle school, and this was probably 1979, the spring, because it took about a year for it to get out of New York City and get to Columbus, Ohio, and these other black communities and urban areas. And the first time I heard it was just like, wow, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. And, leading into number 2, hip hop kind of goes off. Remember, these even when I graduated high school in 1984, the black radio station in Columbus, Ohio, still would not play rap / hip hop. So number 2 was The Message, but I was like, wow. I remember Rapper's Delight. Now The Message, and this, I lived in the suburbs of Chicago, and WBMX played Rapper's Delight. And at the time, I don't remember them playing other rap songs. So again, hip hop and the rise of hip hop. And after The Message, I'm like, wow, there's something here. Number 3, and for Gen X and young boomers, this is back when there was a shared culture and everybody watched and listened to the same stuff. But number 3 is Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, the Motown 25 special, and Michael Jackson moonwalks for the first time. And you were just like, oh my God. I remember it was my sophomore year in high school. At the time, Waubonsie Valley High School had between 500 and 600 students, and 4 of us were black. But everybody at school the next day was talking about Michael Jackson's moonwalk, and that's what's different now than back in the day, because this is 82 maybe, and then we're talking I can't remember when it was, but it's 82. This is the rise of cable. A lot of folks still, probably only a third of the households, had cable at this point. This is Waubonsie Valley High School, Naperville, Illinois, ritzy white suburb. But Michael Jackson does the moonwalk and blew the white kids away. And so I just imagine what it was like, in Chicago or Columbus or Indianapolis. Number 4 for me was Let's Go Crazy. I did a whole classic songs on Let's Go Crazy, but when I leave for boot camp 3 days after graduating high school, When Doves Cry hits, the single leading up to the movie and the album. The album's not out yet. And, I'm familiar with Prince from 1999 and sort of warming up to him. And I get back, graduate boot camp, get that check, and so I buy a boombox. That's and side note, the first time I ever see a CD is at the Marine Corps Paris Island PX, and that's their store there. So I get the boombox, CD. Anyway, so it couldn't be more than 3 days after getting back to Columbus, Ohio, about to go to Ohio State, and I heard Let's Go Crazy, and I was like, wow. And that was it. I just ran. I lived right off of High Street, about 50 to 100 feet off of High Street, no, I didn't. I was in the dorms. I'm sorry. But High Street and at Ohio State and Columbus, that's where all the record stores, they probably had 20 different record stores and a bunch of youth shops. But I made the beeline to High Street, got For You, Prince, Dirty Mind, Controversy 1999, and Purple Rain and cassette, and wore them out. So Let's Go Crazy, number 4. Number 5, even though I wasn't deep into rock like I was when I was younger, 1988, Welcome to the Jungle. Hey, I was like, whoa. So, yep, that's number 5, the MTV music video, the introduction, the clarion call to Guns N' Roses, and don't know if they led with that or with Sweet Child of Mine. I believe, the Sweet Child of Mine would have grabbed my attention too, so I believe it was Welcome to the Jungle. Number 6, Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Again, same thing, the video drops, I'm like, whoa. Nothing, it wasn't like blinking red light, change, hair metal, look out, classic rock, your days are numbered. It wasn't that apparent, but you kind of knew a change was coming when Smells Like Teen Spirit. It was just different. It had a different energy to it. It just, you're like, this is new, and things aren't going to be the same. You didn't know why, and then, now looking back, of course, music historians were like, yeah, that was a big moment. But yeah, so I experienced that and felt it, but didn't quite understand it. Thing 7, The Chronic, Dr. Dre. Kind of everybody was just like, when that drops in 92, 93, everybody was like, whoa. Different, there's just a different thing. There was a confidence to it. And I when I did the 10 most important albums in the history of hip hop, this was one of them. I think it's the most important one. But this is where hip hop came out of the lab, and this is when everybody, at least for young black Gen Xers, you kind of knew, like, yeah, we knew that hip hop was here to stay, but this is where we knew hip hop's coming out. It's not in the lab anymore. Hip hop is here. It's bam. This is it's really about to jump off now. So that's number 7, and 8 for me would be this Doechii Tiny Desk concert. So Tiny Desk, love the format. This is rooted in MTV Unplugged, which, some great ones. My 2 favorites, Billy Idol and his Unplugged, and Kiss. Unplugged. There's a lot of other big ones. And Nirvana Unplugged. That's another great one. Those are my three favorites. But a lot of folks, did Unplugged in NPR wisely revived that and called it Tiny Desk, and so both similar concepts. I mean, Tiny Desk is more, you can be more plugged in, and use synthesizers and different things, but it tends to be more acoustic. Some people cheated, on Unplugged if they had the clout to cheat, but it's always fun to see, like, Billy Idol going all acoustic, or Nirvana going all acoustic, or Kiss going all acoustic. The other big one that comes out of is VH1 Storytellers, and the difference between MTV Unplugged and VH1 Storytellers is the artist would sort of give you a background of the song and why they wrote it, and the process and stuff like that. So it was always interesting. The thing I like about Tiny Desk is there's either or a rawness to the show and an intimacy that you usually don't get, and usually this is where you get to see where the artists stretch out and you really get to see what they're made of. I mean, for me, Post Malone, the two things that really turned me on and to his genius and his brilliance was his when he did the Nirvana concert during over Skype, during quarantine, and then the other one was his Tiny Desk concert, because he just was acoustic, and I'm like, man, this dude could sing, man, he has such feel and feeling, and wow. And so that's what I love, and my brother's a big Tiny Desk concert fan, and he would just send me different Tiny Desk, and I was like, wow. And they always blew me away, because you gotta have talent to go on Tiny Desk to really shine. And one of my other favorites on the Tiny Desk is Trouble Funk, the go-go band out of DC, Washington DC. Love their Tiny Desk, because it really brings out the essence of Trouble Funk, and the joy that the band has in that performance as well. And that comes through. That's the thing that also comes through in this Doechii experience as well. So Doechii, a little bit of her background. She's a fairly new artist. I mean, she got her first attention on TikTok. She signed to a record deal in 2022. So, I mean, this literally 2.5 years into the business, and she drops this masterpiece, on Tiny Desk. She's out of Tampa, Florida. Her father and uncle were hip hop artists. So, and I think her dad did do some recordings as a hip hop artist as well. Doechii considers herself an alternative hip hop artist, and she did tour with one of my favorites of this era, Doja Cat. All right, so let's jump into 5 things I love about Doechii's Tiny Desk concert. Thing 1, the band. And let's start with the most important aspect of this band and the performance. I know it's not flashy, but the drummer is fire. And I know this Tiny Desk, took off in the Black community. I run into people and I'm like, have you seen, particularly Black folks and even Gen Xers who don't have, could take or leave the music for this generation, and even some millennials, and a lot of people have seen it, and a lot of people have been turned on by it. The drummer, I know it's not flashy, but None of this works without the drummer. And having released publicly 70 of my own songs, and record under the name Exodus, Xodus, here on my YouTube channel, on all the streaming platforms. The most important musician in a band is the drummer, and if the drummer's off, everything else is off, regardless of genre, but even more for hip hop and funk. So I have to give the drummer props. I know there's nothing flashy about it, but this drummer is amazing because there's a lot of stuff going on. And if the drummer ain't, the first job of a drummer is to keep time. And it sounds easy until you try to do it. And there's a reason why 99% of hip hoppers, when they tour, they bring a DJ, because they know the drum machine and the DJ will keep time. I mean, to my knowledge, the Roots is the only other band who had a live drummer, and tip of the cap to Questlove, because he's that good. And Questlove you're never going to be blown away. He's not doing Funky Drummer, by Clyde Stubblefield, from James Brown, or if you're a rock fan, he's not doing John Bonham, Led Zeppelin, Moby Dick. But keeping time is the first, job of a drummer in any band, regardless of genre, whether it's jazz or whether it's rock or whether it's hip hop. And if you're off and the drummer, in hip hop, it goes to shit real quickly. Singing la 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 la, rap dun 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 dun. The cadence of a rapper, it's a drum cadence. So if the drums are fucked up, guess what? Your rap cadence is gonna be fucked up, and you're gonna sound like you have no rhythm. So hats off to the drummer. It's where this starts, and it's why it works. Number two, the most important person in the band is the bass player. And the bass player, she has her times when she flourishes, but she sinks in and locks in with that drummer and does her thing. Has a lot. The energy coming from her is amazing. She's you can tell she's having the time of her life, and the joy that she shows, the band shows. So those are the two most important things. Going to the meat of it. The background singers, their energy. And they can sing. Doechii, she can sing and rap, and the energy that Doechii brings is amazing. The whole band brings a amazing amount of energy to this performance, and a very limited space. It's called Tiny Desk for a reason. So the energy that they bring is just through the roof. The guitarist is fire. The two horn players, the trumpet player, amazing. The sax player, amazing. They're jazz musicians, amazing. I mean, this is Diggable Planets, mixing hip hop and jazz on steroids. Did I mention the band's all female? Yeah. Breaking stereotypes in a big way and making sisters proud everywhere. And then going back to the energy of the band. And then finally, I have to give props to background singer and the hype woman. We'll get to her name, in a minute. But, the great hype woman or hype people of all times and bands, James Brown had Bobby Bird, great hype person. James Brown, or Public Enemy and Chuck D had Flavor Flav. Yeah, Flav had rapping skills, but live, he was the hype man. And, Chuck D was the main guy who dealt with the crowd. So the hype woman in this band, she is top notch and amazing. Okay, y'all, this band is so fucking amazing. It's time to name names. So the drummer, D. Simone. Girl, I already said it. Job well done. The bass player, where's my bass player? Zuri Appleby. Well done. Didn't talk about the keyboard player. She kind of, in the background, but I'm a keyboard player, and yeah, she doesn't get a whole lot of solo time, but she's still good. So keyboard player, Hammond Gal. Let's talk about the background vocalists, Amani and Brenna. And vocals, and this is, I think, my hype woman, DJ Miss Milan. Excellent job. Let's talk about the horns. Kashia Potter on saxophone. Tatiana Tate on trumpeter, and she also did one of the arrangers of this whole thing. So she's doing more. Yeah. Finally, we got Tyler Victoria on guitar. Well done, sisters. Am I missing anybody? I do not think I am. And then obviously we got Doechii herself. So well done, ladies. Would love to see them live. I heard they're gonna do some limited concerts, which probably means New York and LA, and probably will never get to see them. Not a whole lot of bands, honestly. I would, major bands I pay to see live, but this is one of them. It's just, this era, and I get why. I'm not, I think I explained earlier, the rise of the DJ, why they're doing it. It's also cheaper, but why? I mean, the drum machine and everybody's, following the lead of hip hop, but it doesn't do a lot for me. I still like a live band. I'm talking, coming out of the tradition of Love and Prince and P-Funk and whatnot. But this is a band I would definitely see. So thing to love about this performance, Denial is a River, fire, the hype woman, fire. I mean, this is tight. This is not, this arrangement is tight. This is not easy to do. I mean, the studio version's good. They elevated here, and wow, that's all I can say. Number 3, the look of the band. I love the outfits and I love the hair, and just a celebration of black girl power, black woman power. Call it what you want. Doechii has her song towards the end, for all the dark-skinned sisters, and this is just a celebration of black womanhood and the look and the joy that the entire band has throughout this, and the energy they bring. I mean, it's beautiful to see. So that's 3. 4. Let me read this. These live versions of the songs are better than the studio versions. Not many bands you can say that about. It's one of the reasons I love Prince and was a big Prince bootleg collector and love Prince's live stuff. It's hard to top the studio versions because we hear it over and over again. It gets burned in your psyche. But man, oh man, is his stuff good. And that's the ultimate compliment you can pay to a live act, is that you're actually better live. It's very rare you can say that. You're better live than you are your studio stuff. So, I mean, for me, that's the ultimate compliment you can give to a band in their live. And it's no disrespect to the studio, but it's really hard to translate, particularly, her style, from the studio live, and the fact that she tops the studio. And I've seen some of her other, performance stuff, and it's usually on par with the studio. But in this one, they bring it and they take it to a different level. They level up here. Number 5, hip hop meets jazz. I mean, the guitarist, has a jazz background. The saxophonist, the trumpet has a jazz background. The keyboardist has a jazz background. Man, oh man. The performance is playful and it's funky. So, in this vein, also hip hop meets jazz. They straddle a fine line here, an amazing line if you're familiar with the live work of the groups I'm about to name. But this concert is tight like a Prince, a James Brown, and a Time concert. The Time is the ultimate party band. Prince, in the 8 o'clock shows in the big arenas was notorious for running very, very tight shows. And in the 80s and 90s, even the rock managers for bands would have their rock acts go watch Prince to teach them how to put a show together. So tightness and the ultimate, from a black experience, a black band, the ultimate compliment you can pay a good band as being tight, as being a great party band. To me, the Time fits that. The Ohio Players was a great party band. Late and once Bruno Mars has become with the better songwriters he brought in recently, has become a great party band. And then the other aspect that they bring into this is being a jam band. And when I think of the first great jam band of coming out of the funk era is P-Funk. Well, P-Funk ain't tight. And what they do here, I mean, P-Funk is sprawling, loose, and whatnot, and the Doors are the first jam band of mine, and I'm eventually going to do a whole episode on jam bands. But the Doors are the first great jam band, and they were tight. James Brown was both a jam band and a tight band, and this Doechii's band in this Tiny Desk is sits right there in James Brown. They're even tighter though than James, because they don't stretch out and go as long with their solos, because they are time constrained, because the Tiny Desk likes to keep it under a half hour. So they don't, James Brown had the expertise, particularly, at least going, into the late 70s, where he could do P-Funk and go long extended jams, but still be tight. Because this is Tiny Desk and they're limited to the half hour. Doechii's band can't do that, but I would love to hear them in an extended jam, and they would still be tight. They would be right there with James Brown and the JBs, and his best band. So that's what bigger compliment can you pay to a band, and one of because the JBs and James Brown were unique in that they could go, be a jam band and still be tight. Again, love P-Funk, but tight wasn't their thing, and they admittedly so, and it was their thing and it worked for them. But boy, I mean, this performance, to me, Doechii and the band are in rarefied air. So anyway, I'm glad I finally did this episode. Oh man. I'll go back and watch this over the years, off and on, and this is one of the performances that will it'll never get old, and I'm pretty sure it's always going to blow me away. So anyway, let me hit this close. So thanks for coming through. Got 6 albums of my own here on my YouTube channel. They're attached here, but I also am on all the streaming services. I record under the name Exodus, Xodus. I also write science fiction and fantasy, and have 2 science fiction fantasy full-length novels and a novella on Amazon, and I write under the name Peter Exodus O'Coffer. Let's see. My first album under the name Exodus, Xodus, is called Book 1. So check me out. Appreciate you coming through, and I will see you next episode.